Hi everybody, I'm Leah of CJ Drill, and today I'm going to show you how to cut a mortise slot for miter bolt for a countertop. You know, a lot of times you'll go to a home improvement store, you'll buy a countertop and see this little slot here? It's not there. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to create this slot yourself so you can insert your miter bolt to attach two pieces of counter together. And I'm going to show you how to do it. 1, 2, 3, you won't believe how easy it is. Come on, let's get started. Now to get started, you're going to need a few things. You're definitely going to need a router. And you can get an inexpensive router. I think my router costs $50. A base model router is fine, but you're going to need one. The next thing you're going to need, and you're definitely going to need a pair of safety glasses, because routers have a tendency to throw a lot of sawdust if it doesn't have a vacuum bag attached. Okay, so you're going to need this. And what is it? It's a pattern, a jig, a template for miter bolts. And these things, they don't cost a whole lot. You can get them at any woodworking store. I picked mine up for $10. But the thing is, if you've got time on your hands, you can easily make one of these things. Okay, you're going to need a pattern bit for your router. And what it is it's got a 1/2 inch diameter, but the most important thing is this thing right here. And that's a bearing. Well, you probably want to know, well, why is that important? Well, I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so here's a mortise slot that I've already cut, and I'm standing up the bit in the mortise, and you can see here, okay, the bearing there. And in the background, there is your jig. And as the router bit cuts, it rides right on that jig, and it prevents the router bit from cutting into the jig, and it keeps it right on track. So let's get started. Okay, so I've got my bit in my router, and just make certain that your router's off before you make adjustments. And what I want to do is I want to make certain that this bit is set at the right depth. And the best way to do it, I found, is just by taking the jig, laying it right up against the bit, and making certain that the jig and the bearing, okay, are in a line. And this makes certain that the bit itself turns freely without interference with the jig. And then you know that you're set at the right depth and you're ready to go. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to turn over your countertop so the bottom is exposed, and you want to make certain that the ends are lined up perfectly. Now if it's just a straight galley style countertop where you're trying to join two pieces together, then you're going to need a minimum of 3 miter bolts, and you want to space them, about 7.5 inches apart. If you've got a corner that's a miter cut, well, then you're going to need more. You're going to need at least 4, or I would go with 4 miter bolts 9 inches apart. Just make certain that you carefully measure. Now I'm just going to do one slot, one mortise for demonstration purposes. Okay, so I've got my jig lined up, right? I got that center line smack dab in the middle of the mortise opening. And that's what you want to make certain that you do. Make certain that it's right on, because when you line up the other piece, you want to make certain that it lines up perfectly. Now, I've secured the jig to the bottom of the countertop with 2 screws. Just make certain that when you do this, that you use screws that are short enough where you don't have to worry about it puncturing the surface of the countertop. Okay, so my project is clamped to a secure surface. Now I'm going to start making my cut. I've got my router lined up and ready to go. Okay, here we go. So now we're going to do the other side. Okay, so we're going to bring both sides together. They're lined up perfectly, and then you just slide your miter bolt in. So that's it. Didn't I tell you? Pretty easy, right? Well, this is Leah saying you can do this. See you next time.